The gaming industry has made a habit of staying ahead of trends, trying to innovate whenever possible. While the past few years have been sort of a dud due to COVID, there is a lot of reason to look forward to the future, with some absolutely crazy gaming technology on the way very soon. With that in mind, let's break down some of the biggest stories in tech and gaming. First, an expansion on cloud-based gaming. Cloud gaming was a buzzword a few years ago in the industry, but has ultimately taken down a peg when Google boldly leapt into the fold that is Stadia, which did not go super well. The Stadia was cursed with downgrades, severe delay between button presses, and what actually happened on screen, and a lack of any first-person titles. Google sort of had one foot in both the games as a service model, as well as its being its own console, if you can even call it that. With all that doom and gloom surrounding the technology, why would we even think that cloud gaming could work? Next, the big boys are joining the race. Sony and Microsoft are the biggest names in console gaming, and whatever they decide to do usually results in a lot more attention than when a new face throws their hat into the ring. Rumors swirling around Sony are saying that there's a strong possibility that PlayStation will have a more advanced form of cloud gaming really soon, likely through their PlayStation Now app. Microsoft, on the other hand, has made waves with their Game Pass for Xbox, and they are slowly starting to involve cloud-based tech to help rope even more people in. So, is this a fad like the Kinect? Sorry, Xbox fans. Or is this here for the long haul? Up next, a future without consoles. It may not happen next year, and I hate to be the one to break the news, but the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series 1X are probably the last consoles that will ever be released, because both companies believe cloud gaming to be the future. Some theorize that in 10 years or less, you will simply plug in a USB to your TV or monitor, sort of like Roku or an Amazon Fire Stick, and play Xbox or PlayStation games that way. Both companies are currently trying to crack the code on how to overcome the latency issues that haunted the Google Stadia. But whether they do or not, that technology should be readily available by 2030, meaning the future of gaming could look pretty different. Next on our list is Sony's commitment to streaming. The amount of gamers that I have known that have switched from console to PC simply so that they're able to stream on Twitch or YouTube is astonishing. And often players find that once the initial work is put in, it's actually easier and a more personal experience to play on PC and build your own computer. Sony knows this and is looking to remedy it in 2022 with lots of bells and whistles set to hit the PlayStation 5 market for those that choose to stream on there. That includes overlays, transitions, and more. Sony also announced at a conference recently that they finally struck a deal with Discord too, and so expect PlayStation to be a much more versatile console than it was on day one. Next, taking advantage of advanced tech for load times. Sony and Microsoft both effectively made loading screens a thing of the past this generation, and it looks like they aren't stopping there. An emphasis to push the technology on both systems to help with latency, frame droppages, and more is bound to happen next year. As even though both companies obviously know their stuff, game developers have only had a year or two to play with that technology hands-on. Expect a smoother single-player experience next year, as well as fast-paced multiplayer without having to worry about everyone loading in first to get to the good stuff. Next, the biggest year for gaming ever? 2022 isn't going to be a huge year in technical advancements since we just recently jumped into the newest console generation, one in which some PCs still haven't fully caught up to, but it may very well be the most stacked year for gaming regardless. Like I talked about earlier, the routine was knocked out of rhythm with the pandemic, but 2022 hopes to be a return to normalcy for many, so hopefully we won't have to experience any more of the dreadful delays. There are going to be big games dropping from almost every major developer next year, including Sony, Santa Monica, Rockstar, Ubisoft, and all the other big players as well that are trying to recoup some of their losses. We should be primed for a huge year. Now, PC gamers rejoice. Similarly to the PlayStation 5 shortage, which has angered those that have been eagerly awaiting to get their hands on it, PC gamers should be in for a lot of great news this upcoming year. If you have been in the hunt for a Nvidia graphics card, card, a decent motherboard, or even an internal processor, the search has been tough due not only to scalpers and other people looking to improve their setup, but also shortages involving chips and other PC parts. The shortage is estimated to fix itself in 2022, meaning that there will be another shot to nab that item you have had your eye on for a while. Another one on our list is 3D audio. 3D audio has been in games before. Crytek puts it in most of their games, for example. Most recently, Hunt Showdown used it expertly to better hear noises and movement in the environment. It has still been an often neglected feature, due in part to how much time and patience it takes to implement. Call of Duty has been torn to shreds for the best of 2 years by huge streamers like Dr. Disrespect for not using it. And it looks like they may have to find something else to complain about, since 3D audio is much easier to use on next-gen consoles and in turn on PC as well. Every gamer should go to their nearest electronics store and buy a nice expensive headset, because this looks to be a huge feature that will probably become the norm in gaming next year. Next, we look into how VR will become much better. Thank Valve in part for helping make this happen, since the release of Half-Life Alyx very much piqued the interest not just for gamers, but of developers and publishers as well. VR is a difficult mechanic to work on, and can be jarring when you first get started, but the fact that it has persisted past some serious hardships shows that people are still willing to invest and still think that it is worth said investment. VR could break out next year, in the same way that motion controls did a while back, and so keep your eyes peeled for some new games to strap on the VR headset for, since there are expected to be a ton of them. Next, cloud saves allowing you to play anywhere. Cloud saves have been around for a bit, mainly with phone storage and such, but it's quickly becoming a staple in modern gaming and should cement itself in the role next year. Being able to save your game at home and then pick up on a different console at a friend's house seems like magic, especially to those of us that grew up in the era of memory cards and junk, but it is quickly becoming a reality for most of us. Sony and Microsoft both have ways to play their games on the go now, and we already talked about Stadia and their goal of making cloud saves a key feature. The time is now for the cloud, it seems. About time too. I'm tired of lugging my console around when I go visit friends or go home on holiday. Next, we're looking at Netflix games. Netflix quietly announced that they will be starting a gaming division called simply Netflix Games. We don't know tons about what that means, but with the rise in popularity of the Netflix original Squad game parodies that people are playing, it would make sense to start exploring that option. Everyone is kind of hoping that we get some news about them and what they have been up to behind closed doors, but I'm sure they will let us know when they have something for us. Oh, we do know one thing though, and lastly, Netflix takes gaming outside. Netflix is very interested in taking gaming to the outside world and using advanced technology to interact with the world in new and exciting ways. That's about all we know so far about their project, but it does shed some light into what they're thinking. It doesn't seem like Netflix wants to make traditional video games, but instead combine their streaming service with some added experiences. While I have no idea what that may look like, I can't say that I'm not very intrigued at this time. And that's all for our video today. Leave a comment down below if you have any more exciting game tech that we didn't cover here. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, as it helps us out a ton. And subscribe for more content just like this released all the time. That's about all the time I got. See ya.